Hi, Ramona.
Hi, Maria. Not
Welcome
as cold.
to Unencumbered Life. I know it's been a minute. Um, just a lot going on, and kudos to everybody who's doing a podcast. Weather interferes with who's going to be where and when and all of that. So we're doing the best we can, but we hope you enjoy and get a lot out of it anyway. And as you know, this Unencumbered Life is a podcast that we've put together to bring you people who are really a good example of what it is to unwind from the encumbrances of self-limiting beliefs, self-doubt, low self-esteem, physical, mental, financial challenges, whatever we go through. I mean, there are people that they do it. Ramona, we met through a mutual friend at NYU. And the first day that I was with you, I just spilled all my guts to you about everything. Tell us what you do.
Well, I'm a hypnotherapist and I help people work through difficulties in their life, overcome blocks, reach goals, maybe ones that they've tried other therapies for, but haven't found the right therapy, right? And hypnosis is wonderful in helping people really find answers that they're looking for fast and easily.
Why did you become a hypnotherapist?
Well, I became a hypnotherapist because it helped me so much when I was looking for help. Um, you know, I had a lot of challenges in my life and I was looking for ways to feel better. And therapy was nice to talk to someone, but it wasn't making me feel better at the core. So I was a single mom, right? I had a job, but I didn't really feel like I was where I wanted to be with that. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to feel like I was fulfilled. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I had grown up with a lot of trauma, right? So I had these trust issues as well. Um, so yeah, there was a lot going on, and I just didn't want to live life like that, unfulfilled,
You know,
unhappy.
I noticed that, sorry to cut you off. I notice a lot of people who have that feeling of not being fulfilled, wanting to do more, are people who needed some serious healing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we used to call in school the wounded healer. I'm sure a lot of people use that. It's not a unique term, but I know when we did these exercises where we would do therapy on each other and all of that, I felt like, oh my God, these people are just like, whoa, they're telling me all their stuff, you know. And it was because we weren't allowed to make stuff up. We had to do real therapy on each other.
wow.
And I'm like, everybody here has a lot of stuff going on, including me. I had a lot of stuff going on. So some of the trauma, so let's just a tiny background, you don't have to go deep, of where you're from and maybe a little touch on the trauma.
Yeah, where I'm from, you mean like from
Where, yeah, Germany.
Germany? Yeah, I grew up there. And then when I was 9, we came to the United States for the first time. I learned how to speak English. And then we moved back and forth. My stepdad was military, so we moved around a bunch. But yeah, when I was a little girl, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I grew up probably with parents that would have needed to go to therapy, but they didn't. And
That's very kind. I say the same.
yeah, and so, oh my gosh, and my grandmother also, it's just these, I think, generations of trauma, right? That just get
Mhm,
passed
mhm,
on and passed on. And
mhm,
these poor children have to deal with so much
mhm.
that they really don't know how to deal with. And so I was one of those kids, right? I would get locked in the basement as a little girl for hours at a time. And my dad, he wasn't around, and I don't know. There were things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's really rough. And
Yeah. And so oh my gosh, and my grandmother also, it's just these, I think, generations of trauma, right? That just get
Mhm, mhm,
passed on and passed on. And
mhm,
these poor children have to deal with so much
mhm.
that they really don't know how to deal with. And so I was one of those kids, right? I would get locked in the basement as a little girl for hours at a time. And my dad, he wasn't around, and I don't know. There were things like that.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate because I didn't get locked in the basement, but that probably would have been better. So
Yeah.
we all have stuff on some level. There's not anyone I met so far in my 59 years that hasn't had or doesn't have some story to tell.
Yeah.
So, but that's really rough. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's hard for you to say that, and I appreciate it. So now let's get back to you wanting to do more in your own healing. So you said that your therapy wasn't enough. What you're doing for a living. What were you doing for a living?
I was a graphic designer, and I love art. I mean, art is as much a part of me as my breath, right? I love it. But I didn't feel very fulfilled just sitting behind a computer making advertisements. Like, I didn't feel like that was really being of service to humanity. Right. And so,
Mhm. Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
um,
Yeah, that's a common thread too. You have these professionals that have this amazing career, things that they love, but I guess the trauma that we go through, it brings us to a higher plane, like a different calling.
yeah,
Uh, Either we wither and die or we do something with it, right?
yeah. And I didn't even realize how much trauma I was actually carrying until I started actually learning how to be a hypnotist. Right? It's like, oh my gosh, like I've gone through a lot. And yeah,
So
definitely.
what does that entail, like being a hypnotist? People are saying, well, does she make me sit up and bark like a dog? I'm sure you get that a
Yeah.
lot. So
Yeah.
what exactly is a session? A beginner, let's say number one session.
Yeah, so hypnosis is not at all what movies make it seem like it is, right? You're never out of control. No one's making you do things you don't want to do. Hypnosis is a natural state of being. We all go in and out of hypnosis naturally multiple times a day. It's, when we're waking up, we're falling asleep, we're watching a movie, we're reading a book, we're driving. Those are all focus states that are like hypnosis, hypnotic states. And yeah. And we can access our subconscious mind, which is 95% of us. So our
Mhm.
conscious mind is only 5% of us. It's, what we think about, our planning mind, or keeps track of time. It's what we're aware of. And a subconscious mind holds all of our beliefs, our habits. All of that is stored in there. It's our autopilot. It's what runs us. And so if there's an issue, that's where we need to go. To our subconscious mind. And hypnosis makes that possible. And we're just calling it hypnosis, but it's a natural state of being. We're just calling it hypnosis when we're using it with intention.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's about accessing that place, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to access that other place. So when you're in a session with someone, um, just how would you get them to begin to go there?
Um, well, I get them to relax. Relaxing isn't necessarily a part of hypnosis, but it's a nice way of doing hypnosis, right? So in the session, if someone's in my office, I will put them in my comfy chair, I'll put on nice music, and I'll have them visualize a safe, relaxing place that makes them feel good. Whether that's a real place, an imagined place, let's go here. And when you do that internal visualizing, it gets you into that state.
Yeah, I remember it's been some years now since I had my session, my initial session with you, but I do remember going into that peaceful place, but then going somewhere that wasn't so peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's where
Yeah.
the entrance into it. It's like would make it a nice soothing way to go in there. And then And then we ask those questions, what's the reason and the root of you having this issue in your life? And your subconscious mind knows. Your conscious mind might not know exactly, but your subconscious mind knows the answer. And so then we just ask and we get the answers. And we have
Yeah,
conversations back and forth. So it's not,
that's pretty much what happened.
yeah,
It was asking a series of questions to myself, guided by you, of course, because I wouldn't have been able to think up these things to ask.
yeah,
And it brought out this thing in my childhood that was, I would say, the cause of all my self-limiting beliefs and doubt, my self-esteem issues, wherever I've had in my life. This was the root of it.
yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the time, it's not what we consciously would think of, right? It'll take us to places that we would have never guessed we were going to get taken to.
And I think I told you I hadn't thought of it in 40 years
Yeah.
better, the thing that I discussed with you. So it was quite amazing. So I think people would like to know, and because I'm saying I would like to know, right? So how does this help you when you're dealing with things in life? I know that you've been through some things in life that were super challenging, and
Yeah.
you used your hypnotherapy and your art to help you get
Yeah.
through it, which when I look at some of the art, I'm like, holy crap. And you know what I'm talking about. Bride of Frankenstein. We can get to that in a minute. But yeah, so people who are going through something, and how can this be helpful to them? Like, how did it help you?
Yeah. So the thing you're speaking about is when I had cancer. Um, there's so many beautiful ways to use this tool. Hypnosis is a beautiful tool that when I was diagnosed with cancer, it helped me take a minute, right? It's so overwhelming and you're asked to make such big decisions quickly and things that you don't know about. So you're trying to figure out what the right decisions are. I mean, they have huge consequences, these decisions. It's life or death, right?
Right.
So it's a lot to take on. And I think having a tool to help me focus my mind and get through it without being overwhelmed. I mean, I was overwhelmed, but
Of course.
manage it the best that I could. And know what I actually wanted to do without there's so many doctors, telling you what to do, but what do I really feel comfortable doing and advocating for myself? It helped me do all of these things with grace, with confidence, and with a level of peace, like an inner peace, right? Instead of feeling like I'm at the mercy of all this going on externally.
So did someone help you, or you had tools to do like the self-hypnosis?
Yeah, I had just learned how to be a hypnotist 6 months before I was diagnosed. And so I had just gotten an office with a friend. I was just starting to see clients, and then I was diagnosed with cancer. So that was put on hold, and I was my own guinea pig, right? I could use everything I had learned on myself. And it was good. It was amazing. It really helped me a lot. And it worked. So, it's amazing.
Yeah, and of course I have to bring up your art and some of the things
Oh
that you
yeah.
did while you were going through your treatment and everything. Um, I've seen some visuals that you shared on Instagram. Could you talk a little bit about those and why you did them?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I think mindset is so important, right? So I was trying to constantly find the silver lining or find ways to get through things without being scared or feeling like I was at the mercy of my situation. And so I when you have cancer, you're in bed a lot, right? I was scrolling my phone. I found this article about something I was researching, and it had a picture of a woman dressed as Superwoman. And I was like, oh, what would be fun. It'd be fun to dress up for chemo because chemo was terrifying to me. And so I was like, how can I make this fun? I don't know, as fun as it can be. And I started dressing up for each chemo. And each chemo I would come up with a costume. Like when I lost my hair, I did Mr. Clean. Or I was trying to find costumes that fit the situation. And so when I had my mastectomy and I had the surgery scars, I was like, ah, the Bride of Frankenstein, right? She has scars all over, and I just fully embraced that. So yeah.
A lot of women, I wish women who have gone through that or are getting ready to go through that can see that picture, and maybe you should post it again,
Yeah.
because the whole embracing that, what happened to your body.
Yeah.
And you did a great job. Your costume was so on point. You look just like the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time and effort like coming up with the costumes. And there's a year-round costume shop here, and they were so nice. Like it became this whole thing. Like every time I went in for chemo, the person that worked there, she was like, "What are you going to be this time?" And she would give me like free wigs, and the people at the cancer center would be like, "Oh, who are you this time?" And my kids, another big thing is that, I'm a single mom and I had young kids at the time. Like, how do I still interact with them while I'm not really able to fully play or be the mom that I normally am and would like to be? But so also bringing them into that, right? Helping them helping me come up with the costume and making it more about that than about scary chemo. Yeah.
Did they like go with you to pick out the costume and all of that?
No, we would just be in bed together, like coming up with ideas. And yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. So do you think that helped them like embrace that more? Did they know what was going on with you?
Yeah. So my older one, I think, was more aware than my younger one. But yeah, there's, now that you say that, there's this one time we went to Walmart, and when you have cancer, people have the best intentions and come up to you, when you're out and about, and will tell you about their experiences with cancer, which a lot of the time will be that someone they know has died, which might not be
Ah,
the best thing to say to someone that's currently going through
ah,
treatment, but it's well-meaning. But my little one was walking with me through Walmart, and this one person came up and told me the story about someone that had died and then walked away. And I remember my son Jet looked up at me and he was like, "Mommy, you can die from this?" And like, I think that's when he really realized what was like the severity of the situation, right? Like, oh, like,
right.
never.
Hold up. People are just so fucked up.
Yeah. A bit of advice. If you see someone with cancer, don't speak about people you know that have died.
I mean, for goodness sake, oh my God. No, I don't know if that, I'm going to disagree with you. Sorry. I don't know if that's well-meaning or narcissistic personality disorder. They have to just sort of make it about them, that, oh, I see you're suffering, but my friend died. I'm sorry. I mean, come
I'm
on.
gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say
I
that they
know you're
don't
nicer
ever
than
knew
me.
better.
You're nicer than me. Okay. So there's, you know, cancer can be something that really holds you back and holds you down and makes you doubt your future. Being a single mom and having cancer and going through that and losing your hair and having those scars and walking through Walmart, some idiot talks about your mortality, right? So was there a time where you really felt like, oh my God, I have these two boys and they may not have a mother?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It makes you realize that life is short. You never know when it's going to come to an end. And also how you actually want to be living your life, what really matters, right? I reflected on how I had been living my life. and realized that I was really living for other people, right? Making other people comfortable, which was my ex-partners or my parents or whoever was around. I felt like I was constantly giving, making them comfortable, but I wasn't living for myself. And my children were also suffering because of that, right? I was working so many jobs because my partners weren't stepping up, doing their part. Um, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's the people pleasing, which I think is also part of the wounded healer syndrome, right? So we are these people that have these wounds and we want to make a difference in the world. But before we figure out how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The right way, right? We're doing it in all the wrong ways. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
we're putting ourselves on the back burner,
Mm-hmm.
which I did for so long. And in some ways, I still do it now. And no one's expecting it. I do it a lot in with some family members and they're not expecting it. They don't want it. They don't ask for it, but it's just like a little piece of who I still am from, you know? And so I'm working on that right now too. I'm
Yeah.
working on like what are my next moves here on this planet as I approach the last part of my life, which I say that and people are like, oh, you're not old. Okay. I may not look like your average 60-year-old to be. I'm a 60-year-old to be, right? I may not look like one or act like one. Like I told you earlier before you started
Right.
recording, I'm like 35 here forever. And it might be embarrassing to my children who are a little younger and a little older than that. But physically, I am who I am. And
Yeah.
I'm in great health and in great shape, but nobody gets to live forever. And I had a conversation with my brother last night, and he said, if I have 20 years left, he's older than me, I'd be really lucky. So let's make it count, because we're talking about some plans that we're doing together and, all of that. So it really is quite amazing how now when it's time, whether you're 60 or 40 or 20, where you figure out, wait a second, none of that was for me.
Oh,
You got to do something for me. There's a little pull, right? That's not your usual spot. So it's uncomfortable.
yeah. Yeah, it's unfamiliar for sure.
Yeah, it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, it's time for me to do me, but wow, I'm not used to that. And you're still kind of stuck. You're a little bit more, I shouldn't use the word stuck because you have a child that's still young and needs you and, and lives at home and all that. I don't, but I still feel the pull of people pleaser. What do they need? What do I need to do for them? And I always joke around with them and I say, don't expect anything in the will because I'm spending it all. I'm, whatever. And they're fine with that, but in my mind, I'm always thinking about them.
Yeah.
Even when I'm dead, like, what am I going to leave them? Like, what am I going to do for them?
Well, that's
You
because
know,
you're a caring, big-hearted person. You're a loving person.
people pleaser.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, you know what? People pleasers are, yes, most often they're very kind-hearted people, but they're also very hurt people.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll speak for myself, it's like seeking approval,
Yeah.
right? So now the only one that I should worry about is my own.
Mhm.
And it's kind of hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's that saying, right? There's a difference between being a nice person and being a good person too. I feel like that sort of ties into it too, where you're being nice and nice and nice. I have to be nice. I have to be good. I have to get the approval of others, right? That's the safe option. And then being a good person and making the right choices is not always necessarily nice or will
Right.
make others happy.
Right.
But yeah.
So with going back to the hypnosis, I think when you're at a point when you're doing work with someone and you chime in, correct me, whatever, that's probably a really big pill when someone gets to that point and they're like, oh man, I didn't do, that was all for them. And they were turned out to be a shithead, or they didn't appreciate it, or they didn't do, I was such a jerk. I could have been doing this. I gave them all my good years. I get, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
there's definitely a
real.
bit of grief that comes along with that realization, right?
Yes, grief. Yes.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's a good way to explain. That is the way to explain it, because I know that I've been through periods of grief.
Yeah.
And sometimes looking at Instagram, people post these things, and I hate to admit it, but I'll look at something and I'll be like, oh my God, that was me. Oh, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But the whole giving grace to yourself, is that something that becomes part of the therapy, the hypnotic therapy, the program?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think when you look at situations in your past in hypnosis with your present eyes, with your present life experience and your knowledge now, it just makes those scenes in your past look completely different than you remember them, because you're remembering them from that younger person's perspective, right? But when you have the knowledge now and the life experience now to look at it, like you look at it with more love and grace and forgiveness, or whatever it is that needs to be added to that situation, or to for the truth of that situation to be revealed, what the reality of that situation actually was.
So
And
the reality of the situation could be that you were so hurt and so desperate for approval that that's why you did what you did. And
yeah.
a lot of people look at that as pathetic. And I don't think I look at it as pathetic. I think I look at it as um, part of the journey.
Yeah, and it was also probably a way to survive that situation, right? What's the alternative to that? And
Yeah.
so just really doing the best that we can in the moment with
Yeah.
what we know. That yeah.
And some of us know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and there I mean, look at how we were raised. What were we taught? What was our life experience like back then? What did we know? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And people say, I keep looking at this color of this lamp, and it was like the wrong color to do. But people say, oh, don't blame your parents, suck it up, or whatever, right? Let's see what this looks like. Oh, I like that.
Well, that's nice,
Like it.
Maria.
Let's leave that. So, I mean, I'm not blaming my parents, because they were doing the best with what they had. I'm not hating on them or anything like that, but it impacted who I became.
Yeah, right.
And
I
even now today, I got some really bad news about my father. And my stepmom, my stepdad, and my mom are gone. And I spent very many years with them and very close to them. But my biological father, sort of estranged for a while. I do talk to him from time to time, but I got some really freaky ass news about him, that I'd never expected, but I should have expected, because the way that I was brought up, you know, mental health, yeah, it wasn't a focus.
yeah.
And I look back, and with my awakening in education, I look back and I go, oh, so that one was bipolar, that one was depressed, that one was schizophrenic, that one was, you can do
Right.
that. So of course it impacted us.
Yeah. And as children, we don't know this stuff, right? So it's like we assume there's something wrong with us. We take it on as our own personal burden, but it's not us when we're surrounded by people like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as a child too, what I would do is I would see how other people lived, and then I would go home and be like, this is not what I see on the outside. and then try to fake it when I was on the outside.
Mm.
And that was rough
Yeah.
because you're always feeling like a fake. And then you're going home and you're people pleasing and trying to fix everything. And as a young child,
Right.
so try to get along there so you can exist in the outside world. And like you said, it's survival mechanism.
And
And
is it, yeah, I'm
no, go
sorry.
ahead. I'm sorry.
I just think when you think about little children navigating all of this with just
Oh
being
yeah.
on the planet a few years, like that's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know. And a couple of times I've said to my kids, and I try not to say too much. I didn't say anything when they were little, but once they got older, I started spilling a little. Um, Nobody should ever go through some of the things I went through and saw. As you, like getting locked in the basement, like WTF, like no kid should go through that.
Have you ever looked at a picture of yourself from that age? Like, say you're 3 or 4 or 5, right? Like, look at a picture of yourself and see how sweet and innocent that little child is. And
Yeah.
child was dealing with all of that. Like, it's kind of hard when you're thinking about it from the inside,
Yeah.
you're looking at it through the eyes of that child. But when you're as an adult looking at a picture of yourself and actually see how young and sweet and beautiful and innocent you were, and that somebody was
Yeah.
putting you through all of that, like I don't know, it hits different.
Yeah. As part of therapy, um, I learned how to separate myself from that child and just do the baby Maria and Maria. And whenever I'm feeling that residue from that time in my life, I just take baby Maria and I say, it's okay. I got you. I got this.
Yeah, you're the loving parent to her now.
And I'm the loving parent to myself. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that when I was doing the hypnotherapy with you, that sort of came through a little bit because there was things that I was telling you that came up that I haven't thought about. And then there was the me sort of doing, but that's okay. And that's, as part of the after the hypnotherapy and having the discussion with you, I feel like some of those things are important. Where you need to interject and go deep and go to a place where maybe a therapist is afraid they're going to get sued, or lose their license, and this is not ethical. And,
Huh.
coaching as well. When you're coaching someone, you have more freedom.
That's unfortunate.
I mean, I'm not trying to hate on the therapist or anything like that. They're great,
Yeah.
but I always recommend coaching and therapy.
Yeah.
So you could take your therapy somewhere and
Yeah, I often recommend that as well. Like regular therapy and hypnosis together are beautiful. It takes it to a whole nother level. You can get the deep answers through hypnosis, the root causes, what's actually going on, and then take it to the therapist and talk it through there and really flesh it out. So yeah, it goes together beautifully.
yeah, I really love what you do, and I wish more people would embrace it.
Oh, me too, Maria. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still viewed as this weird and like I'm taking people's power away, like the way the movies present it, right? Like you're being tricked, or like stage shows, like somehow I'm going to make people do crazy things. Like it's not like that.
Bark like a
Oh,
dog. Arf, arf.
no, like it's not like that at all. You're more in control, not less in control.
Absolutely. You know what? That's a 100%. I feel like, and I'm trying to think back to it now. I feel like when I was doing it, it was revealing things to me that empowered me.
Yes, 100%. You're like authentically aligned with yourself. And things from the outside that are trying to manipulate you don't have that power over you, like, because you can see it so clearly in hypnosis, right? What's you and your soul and your aligned path, and what these outside influences are. So yeah, definitely.
100%. I remember when we did the opening of the New York studio and you came on the big screen and the room was full. I gotta tell you, you convert a lot of people. They're like, all right, I'll do this. Okay. And forget it. You converted them all.
Well, good.
Um, they loved it so much. Um, but I think the problem with a lot of people is commitment, not one and done. You know, people want instant gratification. I want this to work and I want it to work right now, right this second.
Yeah. Well, one thing about hypnosis that is nice when it comes to that, I mean, you still have to put in work. You can have one session and have amazing insights, but ultimately, if you want to shift things dramatically, I mean, you still have to have a few sessions. But hypnosis works faster than, say, talk therapy, right? Where you have to go. They actually did a study on this. I should know the numbers. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but hypnosis is the fastest out of like traditional talk therapy and other therapies. It works faster than those. So that is a benefit of hypnosis as well.
Yeah, but the thing is that hypnosis is relatively newer, the way you do it and the reasons why you do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good
So
point, Maria, because
yeah,
not all hypnosis is done the same. There's like different ways of going about it. Some people just do direct suggestion sessions where you're only listening, you're not having those conversations back and forth. Um, and I do, I do it differently, um, where I have people go back to their past and we clear out the blocks, and then we do the suggestions, because once we've cleared out the blocks, then the suggestions can actually go in. If people are
yeah,
interested in hypnosis, make sure you educate yourself on, you know, the different ways and who you're working with and what they do. I have a free call with people beforehand, and they can ask me questions and I'll ask them questions and see if it's a good fit.
yeah. I think the whole fit thing is important because some people just aren't ready.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's the commitment thing you were talking about too. Being ready and open to the process. For hypnosis to work, you have to be open to the process. You have to be willing to do the work, to look at those things. Yeah, to
Have
put
to be willing to bark like a dog. No kidding. I think that was the first thing that I asked you when we were gonna do my session. I said, "Are you gonna make me bark like a dog?" And you looked at me like, "What?"
Yeah, I mean, if that's something people want to do, we could work on it, but no.
I really love you, Ramona. I think you're so awesome. And I do think that people should reach out and at least talk to you on the phone because I was pleasantly surprised with where I went with you on that in that session.
Oh.
And I'm gonna be honest, like as much as I thought you were awesome, I wasn't a real true believer, you know.
Yeah.
But you converted me as well. And
Yeah.
I think, like our podcast is Unencumbered Life. I mean, this helps.
Yeah, it does. And I have usually what I do with clients, because even though clients like they're open to doing it, there might still be a little bit skeptical. And so the first session that I do is a session to just get people over that skepticism, for them to experience what it feels like gently. We don't have to dive right into getting all those deep, juicy answers. Like, we can take it slow and have people experience hypnosis first gently, so they
Yeah.
can become a believer and see that it's not this crazy thing, but it's actually a very beautiful thing and powerful tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, it's new and psychology has been around for so long, right? And this type of hypnosis is not. So, like anything else that's new, it's going to take a while to get some credibility. right? But for me, I just say, just go for it and judge for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk to people that have done it, because nobody that I know that has tried it has not liked it. Everyone likes it and thinks it's wonderful. So yeah,
Yeah, and it's helped you.
it's helped me. Yeah, that's, that's why I'm doing this, because it helped me so powerfully. Like, it's fascinating. It completely changed my life.
Well, Ramona, I'm really so happy we finally got to do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm such a proponent of this, and I love working with you at Exicor Wellness and your own practice when you came to join us. And I hope that you will reach out to Ramona and just have a conversation, because she's awesome. And tune into our next one. We don't know when it's going to be yet, but we're trying to get this going. And this is so you can have an unencumbered life.